All right, good stuff. So
All
we're
right.
back today. This is week 4 of our social media marketing for real estate agents coaching call here. We're here today with Cara McMaster from McMaster Digital and all of these wonderful real estate agents that are looking to really leverage social media to blow up their business. And we're excited about this. My name is Shane Hillier. I'm part of the Double Your Income coaching team. Can't see my t-shirt. There it is. And I'm here just as a pretty face, I think, on this call. Cara, let's go ahead. Let's get started. I know we've got a lot to cover today on our week 4. Really quickly, Cara, can you give us a bit of a description here as to what we are covering today?
Yeah, so today is week 4, and we are going over what is called the content roadmap. This is where we are going to figure out exactly who your avatar is, what questions are they asking, and what should your content be positioned after. So we're going to build out a content roadmap that should hopefully last you about a good 6 months. Unless you're a beast and you're pumping out, a few posts per day, you'll go through this content roadmap a little bit quicker. But this is going to be the foundation for always getting your stuff done. And then I'll never, ever have to hear, I don't know what to post on social media. That will be a thing of the past. We will have true clarity after today. All right. So just to give a little recap, what we've covered so far, we are in week 4. Last week, we did an open office hours where we looked at some of the stuff that you've been working on. So up to this point, we have developed who is your avatar. Okay. We at least know that by today. We've optimized your profiles. We've created a landing page so that we can actually collect leads from what we're doing on social media. And then we've created some downloadable guides to get people to take action. So today we are looking at a content roadmap. So what is that? This guy down here, that's this little GIF that's going crazy. This is the content roadmap. This is what I'm going to give you today. This is what we use as an agency when somebody is working with us and we are figuring out what should we talk about on social media. And it came to us because when we are figuring out the video and what we want to talk about, it's important that when we go to a client that we go with a plethora of ideas of content, because great video comes from a subject that you know the answers to. It's not something that we have to script. Shane and I met for lunch yesterday, and we were talking about how amazing Rochelle is at the way she kind of scripts and listens to headphones and goes back. And that's amazing. But that's like so few and far between the ability to do that. What's going to be great content for you is you just having a conversation with one of your buddies. And it's not scripted and it comes off natural. But how do we do that? We come from it because we start off by creating content that we know that our audience resonates with, but we actually know the answers to. So it is going to take your content ideas and turn them into a clear, defined narrative for your avatar. The old school way of marketing, and you'll hear, I still refer to funnels, right? We have top of funnel, middle funnel, bottom funnel, and that's like old marketer geeky talk. But what we have seen more and more of a push to is more of the thought process around a flywheel. That it's not going to be everybody starts up here and then they come and funnel down and then eventually become. It's about creating content that is based on this flywheel, which I'm going to go over with you. This content roadmap, this Excel spreadsheet that I'm going to give you today, you're going to have your very own copy. It's again for free, guys, for free. We're here for free. And this has been many thousands of man hours and dollars have been put into this content roadmap. So giving you the goods, but it has coding in it, so that the only thing that you have to complete on it is the green cells. And as you complete the green cells, it's going to fill out more prompts, and that'll make more sense as we go through it. It's going to include detailed persona development, and it clearly defines your objective. What the heck are you trying to do with this piece of content? What's it for? It's going to help prioritize the idea so that you can apply resources in a deliberate manner. Okay. And then what we're going to come away with is a crystal clear vision. We know exactly what content are we going to be creating? Because we've talked about this before, realtors who will make videos, it's all about them, or it'll be, the pizza that I had for dinner last night. And it's not to say that those do not have a place, but if you actually want to create content that garners leads, it's because you got so crystal clear on the objectives of what your people are trying to figure out that they will pay attention. So let's look at the 5 steps on the content roadmap. So we're going to define the audience, and we're going to figure out what the key personas are. And I've got some examples for you today. So let's do this. I'm going to share the slides with you today so that you've got the link to create your own version. If you want to listen and just watch and go back and then fill it out, you can. If you want to fill it out as we go, we can definitely do that as well. It's Let's grab you a link here. Okay, I'll throw that in the chat. Right, you can go ahead and grab that. And then on slide number 3 is where you're going to find a link to the template. When you open that template, it's going to force you to make a copy. Just go ahead and make a copy so that you've got it saved. So let's pull that baby open. All right, the content or roadmap. So I've got an examples done here for you for a few here, so we can kind of walk through it. All right. You can see here that we have these we have 3 different avatars. So we've got Haley and Dylan, they're a young couple. They are first-time home buyers. Then we've got Sophia and John, they're homeowners with a growing family. And then we've got Jeff, the baby boomer. He's a seller. He's a seller possibly looking to make cash on his equity. So we're trying to figure out like who they are, what's their role in decision. This comes a little bit more from like overall marketing. It's a little bit clearer when we're dealing with homeowners, but you have to figure out like who's making the decision. And then what are their goals? What are they trying to do? And then more importantly, what are the challenges that are currently standing in their way from getting to that goal that they've set for themselves? And throughout those challenges, they're asking questions. So what questions are they asking? And then like, what are the solutions to it? And then where your role in the solution is, what are the calculators? What are the tools? What are the things that you have that solve that problem as a resource so that we can constantly be positioning you as the guy who's the expert to fix this? So when we look at a flywheel, let's skip down to here for a second. This is the flywheel that I was talking about, is that if we build our content based on these 3 stages. So we have the attract. So this is where we make sure that we're drawing in the right people with valuable content, conversations that establish you as a trusted advisor. So this is why we developed the 3 to 4 avatars. This is why at the very beginning of this 8-week foundation, I asked you guys, who do you want to work with? Because if you're going to spend the time and the resources, it should be towards the people that you want to work with on a consistent basis. You hate working with first-time home buyers. We're not going to make content for first-time home buyers, right? So that's how I wanted you to approach this. The second stage here, this is engage, okay? That we're presenting enough insights and solutions that are going to align with what their pain points are, and that they're most likely to hopefully become a client of yours. Then we have the delight phase. We are doing it so well. We are engaging them so much that they decide to become a client or they refer business over to us. Okay. This is where the foundation that we are approaching this. So, let's go back over to our roadmap so we can start to look at some statements here. Okay. So once we come up with our persona and our roles and we start to build this out, we want to start to build statements to get an idea of what they want, what we want them to achieve. What is their ultimate end goal? So if we're dealing with a young couple who is a typical first-time home buyer, they're Haley and Dylan. So this, see how it's pink now? It got brought in. So the only things that you touch on this spreadsheet are the cells that are in green. Every other color, leave it alone. It means that there is a formula that is going to pull in some of the details that you have applied. I recognize that as I'm teaching this and as I'm saying this, this probably may feel like you are drinking from a fire hose. Kirsten says it's not working. Shane says it seems to be working for me. Try one more time there, Kristen, and see if it's still not working. It's going to feel like you're drinking from a fire hose. It's not really going to make a lot of sense. And if this gives you any sort of grace, it didn't for me either. When I first started working with it, I was like, this is really complicated and this is hard. So it is time that will take you through. The very first time that you go to do this exercise, it's likely to take you a couple of hours to really build one out properly. But once you do, congratulations, you just built out your content for the next 6 months. So I just ask you just to hold patience for yourself over this next 40 minutes while I go through with this and then throw in your questions. So Haley and Dylan, they're a young couple. So the action that we want them to take, we want them to buy a starter home in location of where you are. Okay. And then buy. So what we think that's going to prompt them to this action. So seeing you, this realtor, as the best agent to get them a good deal. So that's the overall statement that we are trying to achieve with this, because as we fill in this, it's going to continue to build out more titles and copies for us. Then as we move down, once we've figured out who the avatar is, what is it that they're trying to achieve, then it's going to start building us out into step 3, where we can start taking the topics that are going to advance them onto that next stage. So remember how we had attract, engage, and delight. So we are taking your people on a journey. We are taking them through various different topics that are going to advance them on to the next stage. So what is the content that I need to create that's going to attract the right people in there? What is the content that's actually going to get them to like, comment, like share my stuff? And what is the content that's going to do it so good, so well that they will DM me or they will take action on a post when I ask them to comment if they need X? Let's just check out the questions here. So it takes me to a page to make, yeah, that's what you want to do, Kristen, make a page. And it says error message. That could be, check the links. The links are up above there, Tanvir, but let me post it again in case you came in a little bit later. Copy. Put that in there. Where were we here? Outside of that, is anybody feeling really lost? Anybody have any big overarching questions? We're all good. Okay, let's crack on. So once they get down to this stage here, step number 3, this is where we are building out the various topics to move them on from stage to stage. Once we get down to step 4, this is where it starts to build everything. And see how none of these cells are green and they're all these different colors? That's because it all got brought in from up here, okay? Then as we come down to step 5, this is where you'll just check things on or off if we're going to do it, because it'll start to sort it down here, down in step 6. So it'll make a lot more sense when we do one live on the call. And we've got lots of different ideas, but I'm interested to hear from you. We can definitely do where is the spreadsheet? So go to slide 3 there, Mitch. Go to slide 3. The little bottom copy here is where you want to hit that link. It's going to force you to make a copy, so you have your own copy. Got it, Debbie. It's not working on my phone. It might not work on your phone, Kristen. That could be a problem. Unless you have Google Sheets set up on your phone, this could be why. So ideally, you do want to do this on a desktop, because if you try to fill this sheet out on your phone, it's going to be a bit of a nightmare. Okay. We could do a first-time home buyer. We could do a retiree. Who wants to do? Why don't you guys comment here an avatar that you want to do live on the call? Senior downsizing. Janina, thank you for your input. Much appreciated. We're going to go with senior downsizing because I think that's a great one. First time home buyer, Marissa, I got you covered here. Pay attention to Haley and Dylan in the example content roadmap. I'm going to throw that in there. So let's go ahead. And so we do have Jeff, the baby boomer, who's let's go a little bit more here. So we'll give him a name. We're going to call him Bob. So we're going to call him Bob, the retiring downsizer. Okay. So I'm definitely going to need your participation. So if you guys came here just to hang out and just absorb, sorry, you thought wrong. I need your help today. Okay. As I could easily do this for you, but I don't want to, because I want you guys to think. So what do you think is the role of Bob, the retiring downsizer? So if Jeff, the baby boomer, is trying to sell to make as much cash as equity as possible, what is Bob trying to do? So he needs to get rid of his house. He needs to find a place he can retire in the rest of his life. Nice. Yeah, Darlene, sell. Yep. Needs to sell his home. Cash for retirement. Nice. Okay. So we're going to say he's 100% in this. We're going to assume that he does not have a wife. We're going to make this easy on us today. And then there's these questions of like where it comes from. Just think of like your own personal people that you've dealt with, right? This is where you're going to get a lot of the information from. Is think of like the objections, the questions that this person that you've come up with is asking. See how we'll have enough for the next stage. Yes. I would definitely say that. I would definitely say Bob's biggest goal is how can he sell his house and be set for the rest of his life and not have to worry about money? How can he, thinking of things like might have to move into a retirement home later on down the road. Those are crazy expensive. So he's probably trying to figure out Can he use IRA fund? Yeah, for the purchase. Yeah, so I think that's a great one, Craig. I think we'll get into that when it comes to some of the tools and resources that we're looking for. Remember that one when we come back. But his overarching challenge, his goals of what he's trying to figure out is how can he sell for the max price and be financially set for the rest of his life, right? So he's probably looking at maybe moving into something smaller right now. And then down the road, he knows he's going to need some crazy, crazy expensive retirement home. So we're going to have to figure some of that stuff for him. Okay. The challenges. So if we look at, again, as our previous example, Jeff, the baby boomer, he's afraid that he'll become homeless because he doesn't know where to go because of how crazy this market's been. He doesn't want the inconvenience or stress of moving. He's unsure about the changing rates. I mean, we saw everything that happened yesterday. And he's worried about, where this global economy is going. So thinking that as Jeff, the baby boomer, what do you think would be some of the challenges that Bob, the retiring downsizer, has? So do you think Bob is worried about the global economy? Do you think he's worried about, okay, getting rid of furniture? I like it. What do you think are some other worries? What will he do with all the stuff? Okay. Being near family. How far will his money go? I'd say that's a pretty big one, Sherry. I think that's probably going to be one of his biggest. Won't get enough finance for his future. Yeah, financially, how far? So I definitely think that I know somebody at this stage of their life, it's probably one of their top priorities is they need to figure out how they're going to put food and shelter on the table and make their house be that. Because at a typical retiree, that's probably where the majority of their savings in their life has gone into their house. So I'd say financially is going to be the biggest challenges. So I would say worried about how far his finances are going to go. He's probably stressed about moving, just like you said, stressed about moving, too much furniture. Will he overspend on his home? Can you elaborate a little bit more on that for me, Craig? Won't get enough. How far his money goes? Stressed about moving. Stressed maybe about the current conditions of the market. And I'd say he's probably worried about overpaying for his condo or wherever he's going. There's a really good chance that this guy has had his house for a while and it's worth a lot more than when he bought it for. But so in turn, are going to be the properties that he's trying to move into. So he's probably stressed and worried about what he's going to have to pay for the next house. Does anybody disagree or want to add on anything? Will he overspend on his home due to the market pressures, home going up and now coming down in price? Yes. Yeah. I'm just going to add that right in there verbatim. Nice, Craig. Will the property work for him if you become, Tom, coming in hot. You definitely are getting into his head. Love that, Tom. Everybody snaps. Snaps for Tom. Snaps for Tom. All right. I think that's pretty good. Cool. Questions. So now let's think about some of the specific questions. It's going to play off. It might sound a little bit, redundant from the challenges, but that's okay. We're going to put it into questions because remember what we're putting into the green cells is going to build out the rest of the spreadsheet for us. So the more questions and the more solutions we can include here, the much easier our job's going to become when we're coming up with topics. So what are some of the specific questions based on the challenges that we came up with for Bob? Right. So he's worried about how far his finances are going to go. He's worried. He's stressed about moving. He's got too much furniture. He doesn't know what the conditions of the market are. Is the house that he buys now, is that going to go down? I mean, that's a question, but let's get you guys typing in the chat. What are some questions that Bob is asking? What will he have for space in his new home? I like it, Rakesh. Rakesh, yeah, this one should be fresh on your mind, hey, especially since you were where you were this past weekend. What is nearby for shopping and doctors? Nice. How can he organize 40 years of stuff? Yeah. Will be a upside down. Yep. Accessibility to amenities and transportation. Sure, let's put that in there. What if I sell my home and haven't found a new one? Oh yeah. So that's a pretty good question all the avatars are asking right now. Will he make new friends? So that, that starts to think of like content that you can create on different community events that are for people over the, this a certain age bracket. We'll be able to manage the carrying expenses on the new home. Love it. Can you afford the new tax base? Ooh, yes. Right? If there's different tax incentives and things that your community gives for the retirees, that could make a great piece of content. Let's see if I missed any here. Formatting in the spreadsheet is different than the one you are using. Tim Viewer, we'll get you to share your screen at the end and we'll see if we can fix it. Will he be upside down in his new house? Is the market? Yeah, we got that one there. Yes, Rakesh, we're doing the work for you. Yeah, perfect. I'm glad to hear that. Cool. Are there any financing? Okay, that's the last one we'll put in there. We're moving along, humming along here nicely. All right. The next piece here that we want to figure out are the solutions. So now you have to figure out, like, how do we answer these questions? What are the solutions that he's looking for when we ask these questions? So what would be a solution to, is this market going to go down in the next 6 months? What would be some solutions that you can come to that? Or will he overspend on his home due to the market pressure? So same building off of that. How can he organize his 40 years of stuff? Oh, that just went in a whole bunch of times. Okay, so that didn't work. It's all right. Can he afford the new tax base? Are there any financing options, help available? So what are some solutions? Can you guys give me some solutions to some of these questions that he's asking? Educate him on the conditions as they stand now. Okay, so how would you educate him, Rakesh? Do you have like, let's say, showing the market going down? Do you have any case studies? Do you have any blogs? Do you have any times where you can show somebody that makes them feel maybe that this is okay, that it's going to go down this little bit here for the next 6 months, but then we start to ride it back up here. So what we're trying to do is just make them feel a little bit better with actual resources, actual hard proof evidence that we could possibly have within our toolbox. Okay, let's look at some other questions. Will he make new friends? What are some solutions about making new friends for a retiree, do you think? So like showcasing over 50 events, right? Do you have a community center that's for seniors? Seniors Community Center. Join clubs. Yeah. Okay. Dating site for retiree pensions. All right. Yeah, there we go, Vicky. I knew Vicky would not let me down. This was, yes, perfect. Vicky says, I have companies that will help us with the sale of furniture he doesn't want, and that others will help him with these when downsizing. So that's some of the vendors and things and people that you work with that you can showcase as a part of the solution to their problem. So vendors who help with moving, right? There's lots of services out there who specialize in retirees that help them make this transition. For education, market reports, local area trends. Yeah, market reports and local area trends. Let's see here. Maybe something, can we share, like if you have tax, how the taxes work, how the taxes actually work, and if or any savings for seniors or units under a size of X, right? Maybe you've discovered that, if they buy a 1-bedroom or something in your county, in your state, in your province, that if they buy under X and they are in this different tax bracket. So those are some of the things that you can start to put together. So here are the roles. So the features, services, products. Sometimes, I have a client out in Calgary that his one entire niche is serving this one type of avatar. So when you sell with him, you move into one of these retiree packages where he will just take care of everything. He's got all the moving services. He brings in all the people to help out with the finances, moving everything back and making sure that the real estate lawyer that he's working with is not this like digital tech nerd. He's going to show up with real paper signed copies that this retiree is going to be able to use. So that's where you want to think of what are the tangible services that you have that solve those helps. Ray, perfect. Let's go back here. I have financial and accountant available to help with financial concerns. Perfect. So you're so you're gonna like list of vendors who help retirees. Bring in financial expert, possibly wealth management expert to check out his current financials. Yeah. So again, retirees, we can do financial experts, accountants. So the whole thing, like when you're going through this, like what should start to happen over time is to be able to find ways of what starts popping into your head that's going to work with that. So for example, let's say you have a great financial expert in your back pocket. Now we can start thinking about inviting them on for maybe a Facebook Live or an Instagram Live where we have like 10 sets of questions that we can ask them about that. Right. And then that one video can end up becoming so many different pieces of video because you cut it down to 30-second, 45-second. So it's taking the think out of the making of the content. So it start to drum up some ideas on how you're going to position and showcase these different lists of resources that you have. Our webinars. Yeah, for sure, Rakesh, for sure. You can definitely do that. What I will say is the reason why I said like going live is that it can be good for both the financial expert and for you, and you can redistribute that content. Not to say that you can't do that with a webinar. You absolutely can. Webinar is just a little bit different because like you're creating the content to like drive them over to the webinar and then get them to do something. So it's a slightly different play, but in short, yes, you can definitely do that. All right. What are some other tools and things that you can have? So I've mentioned before, I have a client that they have an actual calculator. They have a calculator based on how much you're trying to buy, what you have in savings, what your house is worth, like how much money you'll have to, based on how many years left that you think that you have, right? We don't always get that right. But what tools do you have? So does anybody have any tools that they currently have, resources, guides, specific tangible things that you could provide to Bob, the retiring downsizer? Okay, so for anybody here who has Bob, the retiring downsizer, as an avatar, hopefully by now you've created a downloadable guide, right? So the guides about, the 10-point checklist for somebody retiring, or the 10-point checklist for the millennial who's helping their parents retire. That's the downloadable guides that we covered in week 2. That is one of the things that you would want to include here. So your downloadable guides on how to downsize, right? As an example. Calculators. I have an Excel spreadsheet for buyers and sellers that I can alter for the downsizer. Perfect, Vicki. That's perfect. That's exactly what we want. And then Ray's included a helpful calculator, retirement calculator. I love it. I love it. Retirement calculator. Perhaps there are, there could be various books and blogs that point to this information. Okay, but this whole cell here is all about going through what features, what services, what products, what do you have in your toolbox that is going to like put the nail in the coffin. I'm your guy. I know this better than anybody else in my market. That is the point of that. Okay, Now we're going to move into the get by statements. So again, well, as our example, Jeff, the baby boomer, we want him to sell his home with me, being the realtor, and help him find his next home with me. And he's going to do that by seeing me, the realtor, as the best agent to sell his home. So what that does is by filling these two cells, we get the full statement of get Jeff, the baby boomer, to sell his home with me and help him find his next home with me by seeing me as the best agent to sell his home. All right. So Bob, the retiring downsizer, what is the action that we want him to take? If we were in person, I would have like candy and chocolate and I would give it out to the guys who were like getting in there, but we don't have that today. So we'll have to figure something else out. So Rakesh says, call us. Okay. Okay. A little bit more. Rakesh, like at the end, like, do you want him just to call you or do you want him to sell his house with you? Okay, I'm going to say sell his house with you. So we can pretty much take this here because Jeff the baby boomer is pretty similar to Bob when it comes to this specific statement. So we can just literally copy this over. So get Bob, the retiring downsizer, to sell his home with me and help me find his next home by seeing you as the best agent to do that. Sell his home and refer others. Yeah, now we're going. Love it. Cool. Now what you can see here is things starting to be included for Bob, the retiring downsizer. So here's his statement. Get Bob, the retiring downsizer, to sell his home with me and help him find his next home by seeing you as the agent. So what are they asking? So right now we're in the attract phase. So we're trying to figure out what are the questions they're asking. So is this market going to go down the next 6 months? Will he overspend on his home due to the market pressures? Let's move this down a bit so we can read it. And then how can he organize his 40 years of furniture? So those are some of the questions that he is asking. So right now we want to establish what are the topics that are going to help him move on to the engage stage. So based off of those questions, what are some topics of content that we can go ahead and create? So we'll start off with the first one. Is this market going to go down in the next 6 months? So what would you think are some topics that you can present on that question? What are some things that you can talk about? You don't have to come up with the hook right now. You don't have to come up with the fancy title. Just blurt it out. The whole point of this, if there's one piece of advice I can give you guys when you're creating content, is always write for the trash. I film for the trash. I write for the trash. Doesn't mean whatever I put on paper today doesn't mean that I actually have to use it. So is this market going to go down in the next 6 months? History. Ooh, Ron. Okay. News specific to local market. What if it does? What will happen if it does? Okay. I like that. Right? So this could be like a prediction piece. Like if the market goes down the next 6 months, here are 3 possible outcomes. Will he overspend on his home due to the market pressure of going up and down? So if he's buying, is he going to be overspending? So what are some topics that you could help him out with there to show him why it would be a good time to still buy right now? Okay. Give him home. Okay. So perhaps like how we prepare a home evaluation for retiring seniors. Right? That could be a whole topic right there. How do you even do a CMA? This is actually a really great piece of content. So we had a client, Jacksonville, Florida, and he wanted nothing but seller leads. That's all he wanted. So I said, why don't you go in front of the next exterior, really great exterior shot. Just talk to them a little bit, open up the video with what goes into a CMA. Go back to your office. Let's film what looks like a Zoom, and let's just get you to prepare a CMA. Now, we took that Zoom and we incorporated some fun graphics and moving text and B-roll and made it really engaging, but it was just a really simple way. It was a 7-minute long video. Okay. 7 minutes. He had thousands and thousands of people in his market watching the entirety of the video to get an understanding of how a CMA is even prepared in the first place. So how we prepare a home evaluation for retiring seniors is an idea. Craig says, share with him how much less of a home he can purchase as interest rates go up if he can only spend so much for a home. Gotcha. So why now is the time to buy? And how much, right? So median house price for a 1-bedroom condo or a 2-bedroom townhome, whatever they're typically buying in your market, how much will that look like once interest rates go up? Okay, time check. Okay, we're gonna start speeding up here. All right, we're going to go on to, so you want to keep doing this. There's 2 cells here. So I would keep going on, figuring out like, what are some of the topics that we can talk about, and like, how does he organize 40 years of furniture? What else did we come up with here? Yeah. So a lot of like, how can we organize stuff? How does he get rid of stuff? That's where you can start building out this next cell and start putting some stuff in here. But let's move on because we've got 15 minutes. Now that they understand some of these things, the questions that they're asking, we now need them to understand this. So we want to showcase now some of the things that we talked about. So like there are community centers, that there are clubs, that there are vendors, that there are taxes that we can help them out with, that there are certain savings for seniors under X. So let's shout out a couple of topics based on some of those things. So this one should be really easy. So like, check out this in, right, your city seniors club. Insights, retirement trends. Nice. Thank you, Ray. Thank you. You could showcase a tax loophole. You could showcase like 10 different vendors who help retirees move. Okay. Now that they understand how this is going to help them, what can we give them? Right. So maybe you've got downloadable guide to the top 10 services a retiree can use. That's a terrible name. Please don't use that as a name. It's a terrible name, but I'm just trying to move the speak here. But your downloadable guides, these are the calculators, right? So you've got a calculator to showcase tax savings, or a calculator for equity, right? These are the tools that you're going to put in there. Okay. Now, when we move down here, we start to see it build in more. So it's doing sparse because we're sparsing it in here, but you can see here that during the attract phase, it starts to put in some of the answers that we've come up with up top. So that when you fill it out, see how we've got Haley and Dylan, we've got all these different things here under the attract phase. So for, again, Haley is the first-time home buyer. Attract phase is, showcasing some of the first-time home buyer assistance programs, price of homes outside of the city, because they probably can't afford something inside the city. Why should you even have a realtor? What does a realtor do? And what does a realtor do who specializes in first-time home buying? And then learning a little bit about that specific location and learning which neighborhoods best fit. So as you continue to fill this out, your avatar should look like this. It should have all of these cells filled out, provided that you're going through, as I did, not the rush version of me showing you right now. But what will happen is once you have gone through step 3 and you can add in anything that you want to add. So let's say new builds versus pre-build home pros and cons. Maybe you have a special relationship with a special developer who's giving you really nice points. I would add that in there, and I would put that in there so that you are remembering that you can actually do some, you want to showcase that particular developer, that particular property, because you have a special arrangement. Maybe, let's see here. This Sophia and John, they are people who are moving up. They're looking at, possibly either buying something brand new or looking to build, right? Do you have a builder, or is there a case study when somebody spent over $100,000 and what they were supposed to be sending? So that's where you would want to add that in. So think of this as like your little note section that you can add in there, because then what will happen is down here, you'll have your audience. So that's your avatar. It'll say what this stage of it is in. Here is what the talking point is. And then here you want to check mark yes or no, whether you're actually going to include this. Maybe the idea you came up sucks and you don't want to use it, so you wouldn't have that there. Once you check mark this here, so see how it went away? Once you check mark it, then you want to start coming in and filling in, because it's a green cell, right? So when it's unchecked mark, see how it's blue? Now that it's green, it's prompting you that you have to go in and fill something. So if we go down to, yes, it's not putting it in there for us because we didn't fill out that part, but you'll see your avatar come down here. You'll see your pieces of what you're supposed to be talking about here. And then up here is, what do you want to say about this? So what is the thing that you're actually on that talking point? Like, what is the main thing that you need to get across? And then what is the key audience takeaway? So like, what do you want them to actually know? What do you want them to achieve by watching this? That's a pretty important part because it's going to dictate what some of the calls to actions that you're going to use for this, if any. And then start to think of the headlines that you're going to put in here. This stuff up here, not your headlines. It's just the topics that we come up with. So your headlines here, if anybody's ever like wanting to come up with really great headlines, my little hack, I joined a whole bunch of like really, really big, and this is totally random, but I follow a whole bunch of like really big crypto pages and NFT pages, and my DMs fill up to a T with random people messaging me. But I tell you, those first liners that they reach out to you with are some of the best opening lines I've ever seen. So if you want to get some inspiration on good headlines, right? The headline is what is the FOMO, is what creates the curiosity. It's that piece that's going to build into what is that 3-second hook when you go to create a piece of video content. Once you have completed, oh, here we go. We got Bob the retiree down here. So you can see here, let's just go for the example. Bob the retiree is during the delight phase. We have a downloadable guide to the top 10 services a retiree can use, or we've got the calculators to showcase the equity. And I've checked yes that we want to use this. It starts to build in the pieces here of, this is not right. This is coming in from another place. I'm just going to delete that. But you can start to paint the picture of here. Once you have completed the headlines, that's where it'll start to come under here. The whole point of this is not as important for you guys, because I want you just focusing on just coming up with topics. But like when we're working with somebody, we want to build it out. If we want it to be a blog, or if we want it to be a TikTok reel, that's where we can start there. So if you want to get fancy, you want to go for the A++, you can come in here and start to really build that out. I'm telling you, though, the ones who do, though, it does make everything a lot easier. So you just come in here and say, this is going to be a caption post with an image, or this is going to be a 15-second TikTok, and I'm going to put it on TikTok, and a reel means Instagram. That's where it's going to go. First-time home buyers learn about this location market. It's a 15-minute long form video. So you start to decide that topic that you came up with. What is it going to be? Is it going to be a newsletter? Is it going to be a blog? Is it going to be going on Facebook? And I'm going to leave that there for now, because I think that's enough. And I'm going to open up the floor for 9 minutes with questions. I know that we kind of breeze through the end, but let's hear some feedback. Who wishes they didn't come today? Now they feel more confused than ever. And who maybe has a little bit of clarity on what they should be talking about in their social media? Let's get some feedback from you guys. Craig, is that a yes for you're feeling better? Yeah, my man, Craig.
Yes, yes for clarity. Yes, thank you.
Yeah. Tom, whiplash. I like it. I like the vulnerability there, Tom. I know I did warn you at the beginning. It's going to feel a little bit like whiplash, but that's okay. That's okay. So it's meant to sting a little bit, because if this were easy, every realtor on the planet would have a great social media content. They'd have the best, but that's just not the case. So be thankful that you guys here on the call today, the ones who show up every single week. I know you guys are the movers and shakers of your community. You're going to get this done. It's not going to be perfect, but over time, you'll become better and better and better at this process. And just give yourself the grace that it's going to take a little bit of time to get it done. But once you do get it done, you will have a plethora of content ideas. You'll never have to worry about what you're going to talk about. Rakesh says, is it this realistic to do before next? Absolutely. Absolutely, Rakesh. I recommend, this is a very creative process that you're about to put your brain through. And you as a person should by now have an idea of when do you thrive in that? Are you morning, evening? For me personally, I like first thing in the morning before I've talked to anybody. That's when I make my biggest decisions. That's when I make all my creative decisions. So think about when that's going to be as fresh for you. And take an hour to 2 to fill it out, and try to get 4 avatars if you can. If you have 4 avatars, maybe you don't, maybe you know that for sure you only want to work with one person, one type of person, but maybe that one type of person has a few different personas within that. Tammy, you get the spreadsheet from the Google slides that I gave you. It's on slide 3. There's a link there that says link to the spreadsheet. Click that link. You're going to be forced to make a copy. Go ahead and make yourself a copy. Shane just threw in the chat there for us. Craig says, thank you. Thank you, Craig. Thank you. Beverly says, overwhelmed, but excited. Awesome. Vicky says, where do we grab the spreadsheet? You got it there. Give yourself the grace, stay focused and attack it. Yeah. Cool. We have 7 minutes left. So now would be the time to get your questions. Maybe you have a question about your avatar. Maybe there's something of the attract, delight phases you don't understand. Now would be the time. Awesome. Thank you, Janina. Cool. All right.
I'll give you a little tip about content creation, because I know a lot of people struggle with this. You get really hyped up, you come on these calls, and then, you're back to reality, and, you get busy, things pop up, whatever, right? So one of the things that we've always done for content creation, and I know this, it's probably, you've heard this before, but the big thing is just, putting it in your schedule and time blocking this. So I know with Rochelle, for instance, she's on a very, very strict schedule in terms of, when does she start doing her research? When does she create her topics? And then when does she create her scripts? And when the videos get released? I know others that I've worked with, same sort of thing. If you're scheduling it in your calendars, Sunday evenings, I am researching my topics, or I'm going to go ahead and fill out my spreadsheet, and then Monday you're starting to work on your scripts. And if you just time block that, those tasks, and then just stay consistent with it, all of a sudden now you start be staying on top of the content that you need to create. And like Cara said, none of this is easy. It's really tough, and it's even I think we even struggle with making sure the content gets created. Obviously, Cara's got you start getting assistants and content managers and things like that. It starts to make it a little bit easier, but when you first start, it is really tough to stay on top of it. So make sure just to add it to your calendar and time block this, and then start creating the content that you need to create.
Just giving Janina some advice here. She was asking, what platform would you suggest to start with? So Janina, I would definitely, if you haven't gone back and watched weeks 1 and 2, definitely go back through so that we get your profiles nice and optimized. Next thing here is to figure out your most desired avatars. Where are they hanging out online? Is it Facebook? Is it YouTube? Whichever. But if you're going to ask me a blanket statement, TikTok and YouTube are my 2 favorite platforms for realtors. Yep, raw and accountable. I totally called a client out this morning, guys. I was like, Quinn, we love you, but you need to get your content out. I'm getting you on a call with my social media manager tomorrow. I'm going to hold your feet to the fire. We need video in by Wednesday of next week. No later. And we've had to do various things over the years. Like we give out free gift cards when people get their stuff into us. We've given them awards when they get stuff into us. So you're not alone. It's hard. Even when you hire a team like me, the job is not done. However, you just have to staying consistent on social media is one of the most important things. Of course, your messaging and the content that you're putting out is important, but you're never going to grow an audience if you're only showing up once in a while and your audience doesn't know when to expect you. Cool. Some great questions. Anything else before we peace out for the day? Okay, Vicky, I'm going to have Skull call you right now. I don't know why you're not getting that stuff. We'll get you sorted. Where do I find the previous episodes? So Ron, Shane, all the previous episodes are in the group, right?
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to grab the link to the group right now.
Okay, wonderful. Next week, let's have a quick look at next week, see what we are working on. I feel like we're doing video. I feel like next week we're going to start talking about hooks and how to create great video. If you haven't ordered your equipment, so you haven't gotten the ring light, you haven't gotten your lapel mic or maybe the gimbal, I would say now is definitely the time to do it, because I want you to be able to come in next week and we can actually take a look at those items to help you feel comfortable with them. So let me just open up my sheet here. Perfect. Just bear with me while my slow computer brings up week 1. Terry, you got your stuff. Awesome. All right. Okay. Oh, it's open office next week. There we go. Okay, there we go. We scheduled an open office next week. So next week, you can bring in your completed worksheets. We'll take a look at them. And we'll provide you some real-time feedback. For those who are still on the call, this would be crazy valuable for you, because if you're not good at coming up with hooks, this would be the prime time to do it. So bring in your content ideas and I can help figure out what are some really great hooks for you. I'm also going to come in prepared with, I've got when I create, like, a lot of my TikToks are like top 10 seller hooks to use in your video. So I'll bring in a lot of those for you guys so that you've got it. But I would really suggest that you take this weekend, Saturday morning, Sunday morning, get a nice coffee. You throw a little whiskey in there. No one's going to judge you. Come up with your content and we'll get you all hooked up on next week's call.
Nobody's judging, right?
I'm not judging.
All right, Cara. Well, hey, we're going to go ahead and wrap this up here. We are at 2 p.m. Everybody that's popped on, thanks so much for joining. We're back next week, same time, same place, same link, Thursday, 1 p.m. Cara, always a pleasure. I feel like we see each other every day now.
I know.
So,
besties, best friends.
Yeah, there you go. Cara, thank you so much for popping on again. You're amazing. And with that, guys, have an incredible rest of your week and incredible weekend. And we will see you all next Thursday.
Ciao.